right, welcome to the Odyssey, when a new era begins. My name is Nekita. I'm one of your hosts on this show. We're so grateful to have you here to lift humanity's consciousness. Thank you for joining.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Nekita.
Yes.
Am I saying that right? I don't know a lot of Nekitas in the world.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm the only Nekita I know.
Well, I thought I would be unique with Tony, but everywhere I went, there was another Tony in class. So that's pretty cool. So good to meet you. We're introducing you for the show. I want to have a little fun with this.
Okay.
So the first question is, what kind of guest is too far? Do you have any kind of compunction against people? Like, what if we have a guest in here that is a very immoral person, or is covering a difficult subject, a racist or a Satanist, or worse, a person that likes pineapple on pizza? Like, where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line?
Wow, it's actually really interesting that this is the question you kick it off with, because that's I've always had a knack for the underdog. I remember this movie growing up. I grew up a Christian, and we watched this kind of cheesy but super cute Christian film, and this guy had robbed a police officer's truck in the gas station, and there was a little kid on the inside, his daughter was in the inside of the truck. And I remember this whole scene. I must have been 8 years old. I was like, what happened to that man to have thought that it was morally right to rob this truck? What's going on in his life where this is his last resort? And that was as young as 8 years old that I could empathize and feel for people that on the outside weren't morally correct. So I say bring it on, because I feel like my gift here is connecting people into their heart and connecting people to be able to feel. And so if we have a guest like that, I think that would be challenge accepted.
Wow, excellent answer. That's more than I bargained for.
Yeah.
So thanks. And I feel the same way. I feel like everybody, even villains, have a mom that loves them. And in some regard, villains think that they're doing something right. Either it's a sickness or an abuse or a pain that comes out. So I feel the same. I feel kind of the same. And I don't think that people are inherently evil. Another question is, what brought you here? How did you get to this chair you're in, besides walking in? But I mean, what gave you the opportunity to be here?
It's interesting. I feel like my big MO in this world is just to connect to God, to connect to a higher source. And the best way that I know to do that is conversation. Some people are excellent channelers. Some people are excellent yogis, and they have all of these different ways to connect with God. And for me, the common denominator is always conversation. And there's something that comes through when I'm speaking with someone that maybe it's something I experienced from a week ago, that I start to recognize the synchronicity that's working in my life through being able to speak. So I think just naturally throughout my life, I've been invited onto podcasts mostly as guest, and a few times I've been invited to host as well. And this was no different, meeting in this space for meditation and to lift humanity's consciousness, when the conversation just kind of opened that the Odyssey was even happening. And it's interesting. I left that night and I didn't follow through. I didn't even get John's number. I was like, you know what? I don't want to be too rash to say yes to things, and I want them to come very clearly. And then it was a few days later that I saw John again, and it was the yes was so clear to hop on and be able to have excellent conversations.
Wow, here we are, just like that.
We are, just like that.
So, okay, so this is a question I love to give people.
Okay.
So in what I do, in my testimony and with people, nobody tunes into my interviews or any of the media that I've ever done without having witnessed something in their life that shouldn't have happened. So people that tune into ufology, for instance, have seen a UFO, right? So we're talking about a lot of fringe subjects. You came down here to meditate, and you were drawn in here. So my question is, what kind of weird stuff have happened to you?
Well, in the realm of UFOs, I think I was 7 years old, and we went up to my grandma's, my babushkas, we call her Bushi. So we were up at my Bushi's, and still to this day, my dad and my Bushi, we both saw it outside, UFOs. It was like lights flashing through the trees, closer than you can like logically make sense of. Into that day, I mean, I feel like it was just a year ago where my dad called me again and he was like, do you remember when we legitimately saw UFOs? But my family line has always had a very thin veil as far as just the experience of past lives and spirits, and my grandma, my Bushi, she has seen them her whole life, and I feel like I'm more, I energetically feel them. And so, yeah, it's been a journey of unraveling that.
So most people have some kind of story like that, something they connect to. And the people that don't pay attention to the alternate media that's generating out, literally cranking out thousands of hours of excellent data and testimonials and proof around all these things. So what would you like to see? What would you like to see on the show? I know I'm stuck. I came with some real ones.
Yeah, I would love to see the gap close between this being like a conversation that's out there. Like, if the Odyssey were to launch and at the end of it, it wasn't a new era anymore, it just was. Like, this is what we're in now. And so to close the gap between conversations that are far and they're out there, and make them something that people remember within themselves. That way they're able to receive the intelligence of this information.
Wow, holy crap. Great answer. So let's try this one out for a spin. So you moved here from out east, right?
Midwest, Indiana.
Moved from Indiana, the Midwest. Me too, I'm from Michigan. You moved here and started a new life, takes some gut, and you've been established, and now you're doing this show. What is the consequence of you moving on? What has been the consequence?
Oh, I grew up in such a small town. It was called Martinsville. And there's this little town in Indiana. And the consequence of coming out and expanding the possibilities for me have been missing home and recalibrating my nervous system. I've had different like health things and just like patterns, little addictions that come up through self-soothing myself from going to like having the same exact life, basically, like very little change, to then bursting myself into this new realm of consciousness. And it was something that I didn't ask for, but certainly has happened and been the greatest gift. But the consequence of that is missing and grieving my family, and sometimes grieving the simplicity of what I thought life would be.
Wow, great answer.